All right, welcome back, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get started. This is Pete from Rage Quit Wire, streaming on YouTube on the Rage Quit Wire page, and also via the Fun Round Game Shop page on Facebook. So, something that I've been getting a lot of questions on because I've been posting pictures of the God tier, some of the Malifaux stuff I've been painting up. I've been getting a lot of questions about basing because, my paint jobs are fast. They're not the best, but I feel like a lot of people have been wanting to know how to base their stuff better. And the basing technique I use is simple and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to show you guys how to get the basing that I did with Sneaky Pete. So if you look at his model, we basically got it based up where it looks like I have a water effect. And then you can also see on the back end of Sneaky Pete how he also starts to have this really cool sand effect that looks like, let me just get out of that real quick. Thank you. So he looks like he has some foliage and yeah, it just looks cool. Kind of like a forest based kind of scene. So you can make this look like a beach, kind of like I did, or you can make it even thicker where it looks like they're standing in a forest. So I'm going to show how to get to that effect. I got a few models in different steps. That way you guys can see, okay, how do you get from a blank base like this follower. So how do we get from this blank base to a base that's going to look more like that? So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. That's what we're going to be working on today during the stream. And just make sure that if you guys like what you're watching, make sure you like, share, subscribe the page. Trying to get more followers, going to be trying to get more content out, try to really increase it. We're going to start getting back into Adobe, which is going to allow us to edit up these live streams a little better. We'll also get some more gameplay out and really create some cool content for you guys. So just make sure that you subscribe that way. If you want to subscribe directly, make sure that you guys go ahead and support us via Patreon. We have a Patreon page, Rage Quit Wire, and we're going to create a new video on Friday that's going to go ahead and say some of the cool new benefits we give out to patrons. So that's just some of the stuff coming up, and it's a good time to be doing this because a lot of people want online content. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first step that I'm going to do is, if you look at the water effect, all that is for the water effect is caulk. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out so you guys can see it. I've showed it before on the stream, where all it is this caulk effect. You can buy this anywhere. I bought this at Lowe's. And literally, it's just siding, window. It's white. You want kind of the white version, the clear version I haven't messed with, but it's just a sealant. And you don't need the caulk gun. All you need is this. Just clip it, has a top, put the top on when you're done. So I'm going to show you how to get this effect the easiest way. So let me move them out. We're not on their step first. We're going to focus on this little follower. So the way I do it is I just get a toothpick. Okay. And then all I do is I just take a little bit of it. I have some left over. I didn't use as much as I thought I would. And you just kind of squirt a little bit of that out. And depending on what you want this to look like, you can use a toothpick to make it look like water. You can create some wave effects. You can do some swirl effects to make it look like sewage. You can have little bubbles pop up to make it look like lava. So I'm just going to go ahead and do something to that effect on here. I'm not going to create a lot though because his base is kind of small. So all you do is you just take a little bit of this. Matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and use this because this will help so you guys can see it a little better. So we're going to move that. So all we're going to do is we're just going to create a little bit on here. We're just going to kind of swirl that around because what I'm going to do with these guys, theirs is actually going to look like some lava. because they're part of Rain Gosh's followers. And I'll clean that off his heel because obviously you don't want lava touching. So I'll probably actually put a little rock there to make it look like it's stopping it. But that's all you do. And then you're going to let that set. This needs to set at least for like half a day. But either way, whether you're going to make that water, slime, oil, whatever, that's all you do. And when you get done with that step, right? So that's going to dry. I'm not even going to touch him because you don't even want to put any sand down while you're waiting for that to dry. Sorry, just make sure my desktop audio is off. It is. Good. So you don't want to put anything on that because if you mess with the sand, it's actually going to get in there and it's going to make it look weird. So you don't want to put any other basing material down until that's dry. So we're actually just going to set him aside. He's done. We're not going to see him again the rest of this broadcast. So the next step is where I have Mournblade and his followers. So this is pretty much dry. It might need to set a little longer, but it's pretty dry. So it's going to be fine. All you're going to do is you're going to take some sand to create their base. Now you can get this sand. I've seen people get it from like actually outside. And I've also, like me, I've bought this from Hobby Lobby. That's where I get most of my basic material. So all it is just fine sand. You can get finer. This is pretty good though. I've actually mixed in some bigger rocks too within here, but that's all that is. So all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take super glue. You can do PVA glue too. I just use super glue because I want to make sure that it stays. A lot of times if you use like Elmer's glue or PVA glue, it really can start to fall off the base. So that's why I like to use super glue. It's a little, obviously I'll run out of super glue a lot more, and on bigger models I don't use that because I don't want to run out of super glue really quick. So bigger bases I don't mess with. But all you're going to do is you're going to put glue on the spots where there isn't a caulk. Sorry, I might have to go get a thumbtack here. Yeah. So I'm going to get a thumbtack. That way I can pop that up. I thought I had one in here, but it doesn't look like I do. So I'm going to go grab one real quick. So go ahead and wait one. All right, we're back. There we go. So, like I said, you're going to take the glue. You're just going to spread that out along the base. You just want a nice thin kind of layer. You don't want to cake it on there. Okay. And all I do, literally, I just soak it in there, just kind of kick it off. Now you'll notice that some of it got into the caulk. That's fine, because once this dries, it'll just kind of fall off. So that's fine. So we're gonna do the same thing all the way across the board. These bigger bases, you'll have to do it kind of in sections. You'll see I'll kind of do it here. And don't be scared to do basing on these models that don't have lips. Because really, if I see I got some on the edge there that I don't want, I can literally just brush that off and I just move on. And I know, like I said, there's some sand getting in where the caulk is, but that's fine because once this all dries, it'll just be something that'll kick off there pretty easy. And this is kind of like painting where it's not going to look great when you first put it on there, and that's fine, right? But you just got to kind of trust the process. By the time you guys see these other models, you'll be like, okay, that turned out better than what it was looking. Everything's a process. It's not going to look good until it does. I'm going to paint Mournblade's him and his followers up, kind of like they're the White Walkers. The banner, I'm not going to put any of this on because it's already textured. You could if you wanted to, but it sometimes looks weird. It's already textured. I'm just going to leave it because these are going to have snow bases. Because like I said, they're going to be White Walkers from like Game of Thrones. Stokes has a really cool ice weapon effect he does that I'm going to try out on these guys. That I think will look really cool once it's all said and done. If I can convince him to give me his secret recipe. Okay. Because the caulk effect on these guys, all it's really going to be is an ice effect. It's not even going to be water. It's going to be a really bright blue. All right. So you want to put the top on this. Never leave the sand just sitting out. That's how you get sand everywhere. And angry wives. All right. So we got the sand effect down. So you're going to let that dry. The super glue is actually going to take less time to dry than the caulk. So you want to make sure that you guys let it set for a little bit because you don't want to put anything on this until it's dry. So once again, after I do this basing, I usually let it set overnight. This is something I'll usually do and I'll pick up again the next day. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going along. And you can see the sand in the caulk. That's just something that you can go ahead and clean up once it's done because there's not glue holding it there. It's just the PVA or the caulk. So once it's kind of done, you can just kind of brush it off. I'm just going to leave it there because I don't want to mess with it. So this is kind of your next step. So I'm going to move these guys out of the way because we're done with this now. These models we're not going to touch because what you're going to do is once it's dry, you need to prime it. So whatever primer you're going to use, you want to go ahead and move forward with priming it once it's dry. And that's the step that we're going to look at next. Okay. So you take these and you're going to prime them. So we're going to move Mournblade and his boys over here. Frostmourne hungers. All right. So you primed them. Good job. So you primed them, and this is kind of what we're looking at next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our two base colors down. So we're going to have this look like a forest, just a forest with some water on it. It's going to be it's not going to look like a beach scene that I did with Sneaky Pete. This one's going to be just more forest. Maybe there's a pond or something that's next to him. All right. So we're not going to worry about this, but I will paint it up simultaneously because that's fine. So one thing you want to keep in mind while you're doing basing, you want a brush that you don't mind beating up. So notice that my brush here, it's frayed, has some parts sticking out. Those are the brushes you want for basing. So we're going to paint this into two colors that are going to be our darkest colors that we're going to put actually a light wash on. So you can see I got a brown here, and I got this blue. All right. So let's put him on here. Okay. And let's put one of the little guys on my other one, which is, where did that go? Curiouser and curiouser. I suspect my son has been messing with my stuff, which is very possible. That's kind of annoying, because I did have it like right here. God bless America. Nope, found it. Good. So you gotta look. Don't go blaming people until you looked everywhere. Okay. So we're gonna start with this brown. So the one I always start with is the dark brown. So I always go with like a scorched Morn Fade brown kind of look when I'm doing my basing. And all you're gonna do is take your beat up brush, and anywhere that you have this base color, I'm actually not gonna use this because since you're messing with the base, it's kind of clunky to use it that way. It'd be easier for you guys to see it when I hold them like this. So anywhere we have sand, we're going to put this in. And you want to try to get the paint deep in there, but don't worry if there's some of the original primer color showing, because what we're actually going to do is once this is dry, we're actually going to put a light wash on it. That way it helps not only darken it so that way we can go back and layer off of it, but it's also going to fill in these gaps of where our brush just can't quite get into this brown into. All right. Usually this is the last thing I do, but I had a lot of people asking about my basing, so I thought this would be a good video to do. Plus, it's one of those things I don't mind doing. I do paint the edges on these God tier models just because I think it gives it a little extra character. Sometimes I don't. If it has like a ring, so for example on like Malifaux and Warhammer, not Warhammer, sorry, War Machine, Guild Ball, they all have rings around the base. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually paint the rings the color of the guild or of the army. Since this doesn't have rings around their bases, I'm treating it as if whatever color is there is the one that's going to be on the ring. You could just paint it black. I've done that with other people's things as well. And don't worry about if you get some of this on the model, like on their feet. Don't even worry about it. Because one, if it's dirt, it just kind of looks like they got mud on their feet. And two, you can go back and paint it, so it's not that big of a deal. All right. So we got his brown. I already painted the little brown that this guy has. And I even painted the blue already on this guy. And I think the other ones I just have water on, so yep. And I'm actually going to paint this rock as if it's coming out of the water, just because I think that'll be a cooler effect. I did a similar thing with Sneaky Pete's banner, where it just looks like it's popping out of the water. So I'm going to do a similar effect with Wraith's banner. So we're done with the brown. So now we're going to get our darkest blue, which I actually like going for a real dark blue, so even something like that. Just because it's going to make that water have a real deep color. And like I said, we are going to do a really light wash, especially on this. You're not going to put a huge amount of wash on that. You just want a light amount. Just that way there's some leveling to it. Okay. Okay, so we got that dark blue. Okay, I'll move you to the side. We already got you. Get our flag. A lot of these models, I really like their banners. A lot of their banners have a lot of cool character to them. I'm glad they did that. That's the one thing where if I did part of the Kickstarter, I would be a little mad about. Just because these banners are cool. Supposedly, people that did the Kickstarter eventually are going to get them. But we'll see, right? Okay. Let's put you over here, just because I'm trying not to get too much paint on my table. Don't want too many rings. Okay. Yeah, I think Chris and I are actually going to play a game on Friday, and we're going to record it, and we're going to do a podcast off of the scenario that we do for this one. I'm not going to spoil which scenario, but it should be entertaining because the scenario is actually really challenging. And I know Chris is going to bring Rangosh because that's his boy. I think I'm going to bring Wraith as one of mine. And we'll see how that does. Chris will get a headache from Wraith. Wraith does some kind of crazy things. Okay. Okay. All right. I think we're good there. All right. So we got the blue bases. We can't go right into washing them because obviously they have to dry, and we do want to wash to go in there. And actually, the brown even itself is still washing or still drying. So there we go. Move him up a little bit. Okay, so that's kind of what it's looking like so far. This is the very base concept. You do not want to wash the bases until they're dry. So I'm actually going to put them down by this fan because they're going to dry a little quicker. You can, especially with basing, you can do that. It's not going to mess up your basing at all. You got to be careful with that, where you can do a fan for like washing a model, but I wouldn't do something like a blow dryer because that can really mess up the way it kind of dries. Okay. So we'll go ahead and put that aside, and I'm going to actually paint something while we're waiting on that to dry. It shouldn't take too long. You guys can kind of time it. I mean, we're sitting at about the 45-minute mark. So we're just going to put them down here by my fan. Okay. And they shouldn't take too long. So we're actually going to look at another God tier model. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's go ahead and let's look at these Marvel Crisis Protocol models. So these are kind of models that I've been working on that we'll go ahead and do while we're waiting for this to dry. And this is kind of just when you're hobbying, I have usually 4 or 5 different things I'm working on just because sometimes you get like this where there's a step and I don't want to lose any momentum. So I go ahead and just have something ready to work on. Now, Guru, I'm going to highlight, but he's actually pretty close to being done. And this is all just the Snakebite Leather contrast paint. I'm just going to highlight him a bit. So that's Guru. Really cool. And you got Rocket. Looks like he's kind of coming out of the ground off of one of Groot's roots. So let's put Groot aside for a minute because Groot's good to go. It's going to work on Peter Quill a bit. Star-Lord. Who? Okay, I actually do want to use this for old Peter Quill. Yeah, no, I've been liking using this because it's been working really well for me, keep my fat hands out of the screen. Okay. Good. I need that blue. All right, let's do this color. Bow, bow, down, bow, bow, down. Okay. Let's actually do smoke as kind of a white to start off. Marvel Crisis Protocol basing is kind of actually, it's been a challenge for me because they're already pre-generated and I almost would rather them not be. I'd almost rather just let me paint them up like my normal basing, but I can understand the appeal to a lot of people because it just looks like they're kind of fighting it out in the streets. And it's already done. I don't have to worry about all this different basing. So I can get that, but for me, it's plain and it's a street. It's the streets are not fun to paint, honestly, because it's gray. You can do it kind of black. It's basic. So for me, I'd prefer it to be something else. And all the streets look the same. There's about what four or five different street bases. So I don't know. Let's see here. So we got that kind of gray. We need this snake bite leather. There it is. All right, let's see how these bases are looking down here. They're almost dry. Just waiting on the brown to dry. On Wraith's base is kind of what we're waiting on. So always have stuff you can work on while you're waiting for things to dry. That'd be a big hint that I would tell people. Because you're going to have things at different steps. So you just want to be able to work on something while you're in between. Okay, I think that's good. And I think we got all the base. Nope, got his belt. I think we got all the base colors though. Besides that, I don't want to do that smoke. I think I want to do that smoke. Maybe don't want to do blue. Blue would be kind of cool. A little more cartoony. Do the old blue. These Marvel models are really cool. Before I go get this, let's just do his goggles real quick. Okay. Star-Lord. I'll worry about that smoke later when we're actually working on finishing him. It's a pretty cool model. Like, I kind of want to like this game and play it more, but I just have a lot of other games that I find more interesting. But at least I got these guys. That way, when I am at that spot where I can move forward with them, I got it. All right, let's see where we're at with these models. Okay. Because we're going to have to go back to Peter Quill as we're waiting for this stuff to dry when I put this wash on in a second. All right, I think we're dry enough to do this. So we're going to put a light wash on the blue because, like I said, we want a little bit of it pulled out there. You could do this without a wash. You could just start building up the water, but I feel like a wash just starts it off the way I want it to with the kind of getting it a slick look. So plus I washed the brown part of the base, so I'm like, let's do the other one too. Make sure this isn't my boy. Let's see here. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Sorry, just gotta look. All right. So there's my black wash. So let's start with the boss man himself. All right, so like I said, you're gonna put a light wash on the water part. Because really I just wanted to pull out where the waves are breaking. That way when I paint the water, I can tell where that is, okay? All right. Then we're going to go ahead, and this is going to actually be a little thicker on the brown part because we want, like I said, anywhere where we couldn't get brown packed into, we want the wash to settle in and fill. And then with a combination of dry brushing and the actual static grass we're going to put in, you're not going to be able to see any kind of places that we missed. But you can see how much darker this is already starting to make the base. All right, any other place we missed you a little bit there. Okay, so that's race base. So you can see we got it where it looks really kind of saturated. And then the water also kind of has that look to it, right? Okay. We're gonna do the same thing for these little guys. It's again just a light wash on that, just so we can pick up the breaks when we actually paint it. Okay. And sometimes, depending on the model, basing can actually take longer for me to base than it is to actually paint the model. Okay. And our last guy. If you guys have any comments, just let me know. I do got to share this to my own page. I think I shared it to a lot of the other pages, but let's go ahead and share it to my page as well. All right. So once again, we're going to let that wash set. I'm going to put it in front of the fan, so it shouldn't take as long as if I just set it out. So that's part of the process of basing. It takes a little bit longer. Share. Newsfeed. Share. Sorry, just take a second. Just doing some self-promoting. There we go. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let these guys dry. So we're going to move them down. Okay. And then we'll go back to Star-Lord we already have done. Groot's pretty much done. So now we got to figure out what to do with the rocket. So once again, like I said, make sure you have stuff you can work on while you're in between basing and doing other parts of models. Sorry, I just got to get a quick idea of how I want to paint Rocket's fur. Images, because he's kind of a different model. He's got like an orange suit on. He's mostly brown. Okay, we can work with that. So let's go ahead, and if we're going to be mostly brown with the rocket, let's go with the snakebite leather. We'll do blacks as well with him, but brown's going to be a good start for a lot of his fur. So anytime you have fur, where's my little handle? That way, fingers are out of the way. Crap. Yeah, anytime you can do fur, this snakebite leather or whatever you want your fur to be color-wise is a good starting point. Okay. Oh yeah. Rocket's gonna mess some stuff up. Yeah, we will do an orange suit with him because that's gonna look really cool. So when I paint orange, I always start red. Another little tip for you guys. So since we're starting red, I'll go ahead and do a red contrast paint, and then we'll go from there. Now he's got a little fur down here. Okay. I am Groot. Okay. What about his arms? I gotta check his arms, see if those are brown. Looks like it. Got little fingerless gloves on. Okay. Quiet chat today. People must be working on a Wednesday. Usually I have a few people in here that are just hanging out, but middle of the day on Wednesday. I had to take a break today from working. It was just one of those days where I'm just needed a break. I'm gonna take a family walk later. Alright, so I think we got Rocket's fur into a good spot. Alright, so we are gonna give him orange jumpsuit, so we do want to start red, and then we'll build up to orange and even get some yellows in there. Doo-doo-doo.
Going?
Doing alright, what are you doing?
Pretty much. I have a fever, but that's it.
You have a fever?
Yeah.
I didn't know you have a fever.
Cause I took my temperature. And then yeah. Go right down. I want to go right down.
Okay, sounds like a good idea when you have a fever.
I don't want to.
Well, that's how you get rid of it. Drink some water and lay down, chill out. Well, then you're not going to feel better.
Boy.
Uh. Here's a tip. He probably doesn't have a fever. Some attention. But you don't tell them that. Sorry, hands in the way. Because there's a really weird spot right below the gun where it's kind of hard to get into. Alright, so we got, looks like most of the red down. There's some spots right under the gun where it's going to be near impossible to kind of get into. But we'll get the spots that are going to stick out. Alright, but I think that's the rest of it. You notice each time I say that, I'm like, oh, there's a spot. Alright, so cool. See how our basing's doing while we're kind of continuing on. Okay. Still drying. The water is dry as far as the wash goes. Now we're just waiting on the sand for Wraith. Once his sand is dry, we'll be good to move on. Alright, but we are done with that red. Let's see here. What do we want his gun to look like? Ooh, his gun's like a yellow. That's kind of cool. So we'll have the plating on that be a yellow. So we'll use this orange wash. Who's buzzing me? Sorry, just family stuff. Give me a second. All right. So let's get the yellow panels on this. So yellow is one of those colors you just have to build up. So we're gonna hit the sides. It's gonna look kind of like a dirty yellow because we primed brown. And the more I'm working with these contrast paints, I'm really finding you can prime non-white. You just got to figure out what effect you're gonna get out of it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. I think that's where we want that. He was actually kind of a pain in the butt to put together, Rocket, because his jaw was in two different, two different pieces. So he was actually quite a pain in the butt to put together. Okay, let's do the black. So we want black on these little gloves. I have a friend that I think he lives in up in like Wisconsin or Minnesota now. And Rocket, it would be like his spirit animal for sure. Just the way he always acted in D&D and stuff, causing mischief. All right, we want those knee pads to be black. Then we want black gun. Okay, once we get done with this black, Wraith should be ready to finish basing. We will see. Rocket is a cool little model. She called me a trash panda. I love it. What's really funny is when you just call random people trash pandas. You're a trash panda, shut up. Alright. I think we're all set there for that. Okay. Oh, wait, we got these knee pads. Okay. Sweet. All right. Okay, I think we're probably about ready to continue basing. Rocket's kind of a cool spot. All right, let's see what Wraith looks like here. Okay, yeah, we can move forward. So back to basing. All right, so you over there. All right, let's see. Okay. All right, so back to basing. All you're going to do is you're going to pretty much the rest of the paint part of this is dry brushing. So we're not going to want our good brush for this. We're going to go back to our basing brush. So I'm going to start with that brown. So we're going to go with this. We only have 2 models that have this brown on their base. So all you're going to do is you're just going to kind of go back over it. Like I said, it's not a pure dry brush because you do want to reestablish the brown, but you don't want to fill in the cracks. So you really want to get some of that off your brush when you go back over this. And you guys might be looking at it right now and might be like, well, it doesn't really look like you're putting anything on the base, but it is. It's just the same brown, just relieving that dark recessed color. All right, so we got that. Okay. Then we're gonna get this little guy. He's the only other one that has some brown. Okay. Now we're gonna go up to the next level here. So we're gonna go and we're gonna hit it with this Zandari dust. You can keep going brighter off this depending on what you want it to look like. If you want more of a beach color, you can actually hit this up pretty heavy and then build up to a bleached bone and even a really light white. But since this is the brightest color I want on my base, this is what I'm going to dry brush with. And this is the highest color that I'm going to go. I'm not going to go any brighter than this. I do want this to be a dry brush, so I am going to get a bunch of that off. And we're just dry brushing the very tops of that. Okay. That's what it should look like when you're kind of done. You're going to see it more with his base because there's a lot more of it. Okay. Dry brush just means that you take most of the paint off of the brush. That way when you hit your model up, or in this case your base up, you're just hitting the very, very edges of it. Because you still want to retain this brown color. You don't want to completely paint over it. You just want the soil to look like maybe the sun's hitting it, look like that's the lighter colored soil. Okay, that's pretty good right there. So that's generally on most of my basing, unless for some reason I want to go up a color in brightness of brown to make it look more deserty. But when it comes to forest, this is the consistency that I want my gravel to look, right? Now we're gonna hit the water up. So that's all that is. And once again, you could actually leave that gravel like that and it'll look pretty decent. It looks a little weird because there's not a lot of depth to it, but it looks fine. I wouldn't hate a model that just had a base like that. I like mine a little more interesting when I do it. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing for the water. We're gonna go back to this dark blue. So the water I do want to have more control over because of the waves and stuff. So I'm going to use a better brush on this part of it because I do want to have control of where the blue goes in this. So we're going to kind of puddle up there. Cool, cool. All right. Go a little blue right there. Okay. All right. So we got that there. All right. And I'm just kind of, with this darker blue, I'm not specifically covering up the whole base again, but what I'm really doing is, if I still see some brown through this with this darker blue, I'm just kind of hitting it back up, because this is your base color. So you really want it to just be solid. That's all I'm doing with this. I'm leaving it. If it looks dark, I'll leave it, but the other parts of it, I'm kind of repainting with it, just to make sure we have a good solid base for our water effect. Okay. And then when we hit these other blues that you're going to see after I get through this part of it, you're going to build up, just highlighting like you would any other part of the model. So we want to keep our darker parts dark, and where we have the water kind of cresting and making these swirl or whatever movements, that's where we want to put some of this brighter blue down. All right. Okay. All right, so we'll go pretty much right into the other blues. So I'm going to hit this Altdorf blue, then the sky blue, and then actually some white for the cresting of the water. The water is kind of interesting. You just got to play around with it. Because some of this I'm going to leave dark, other parts I'm going to... The very top of it, you do want to put the lighter colors. But even some of these pooled effects, I put some blue down just because I want it to look like there is nice clear water maybe sitting still right there. But either way, we're starting to kind of build that depth. Maybe you want a little bit of blue sitting right there. Okay. Cool. Let's go with the sky blue. Actually, sorry, get a little ahead of myself. Let's get all the models. Let's not just do our champ. Okay. Okay. Just working on the water. Yeah, same. Doubt it. Doubt it. Sorry, I'm just hearing my son kind of play around in the back. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to hear. Attention getting. We've been having some of that during the COVID-19 where it's like, oh, I'm not feeling good, or oh, I hurt myself. It's like, yeah, you're just bored and looking for attention. Okay. Come away from there. It's not natural. Okay. Just kind of getting this water effect down. And like I said, there's a lot of playing with it where you got to leave some of it dark and then some of it you want to highlight up. Because water is just very inconsistent, right? Water is one of those things where it might be really dark in one spot and then light in the next. Might have a wave crashing here. So just gonna, I can't like tell you, hey, here's how you paint it. Just because a lot of times I don't even know. I'm just kind of going by the seat of my pants like, yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, that kind of looks like water. All right, get the sky blue. This one, once again, we're kind of just being selective with it. And we even want less of that on our brush. And as you get closer, because I'm going to make this look like water instead of rock, because it's clearly supposed to be a rock, but I'm going to make it look like water that's kind of bubbling up. With this lighter blue, we are going to just be putting it kind of on these higher points and where the water kind of meets each other. And then right where it's going to be crashing and breaking, that's where we're going to put the white highlights. All right. Cool. All right. All right. And get this last little bit here. All right. Then we're gonna get a little bit of white, and then we're done with the painting portion of the basing. And then we'll go ahead and get into the actual flocking kind of part of it, which I think is where a lot of people, because you can mess with colors of bases a bunch. I think where a lot of people get caught up is with how do I make my base look kind of cool with different types of flock when I'm doing it. So I'm just going to put white right on the edges of all this. And really, you can be pretty bold with it when you do this, because I mean, when water breaks, it's just very, very defined. And if it's smooth, you don't want to put a lot, like smooth water, you're not going to see a lot of agitated white water. But the more aggressive that the water is, the more you're going to see kind of breaks and stuff. So I would say the more agitated the water is, the more white highlights you should put in on it. And the less, like this one has a lot of kind of like agitating. There's a lot of movement, so you're going to want more white on that base. And this one, since I really want it to look like it's coming out of the water almost, we really want a bunch of white on this just to make it look like this water is really kind of churning up. There we go. That way it looks like it's like really coming out of the water. I got Wraith's water. So Wraith, we'll get kind of some white going there. A little white there. Okay. There we go. That's all I want that to look like. So we got our water basing done. So we're done paint. That's all the paint we're gonna put on there. So you can still see that there's a lot of difference between what's going on with this model and what's going on with Sneaky Pete. Because you can see Sneaky Pete, like this still looks a little, or this one has a shine to it. We'll get that shine effect here in a little bit. And you can see the back of the base. This looks kind of plain. This has a lot of character to it. Now, obviously, he doesn't have a scenic base like Sneaky Pete has, but we're still gonna church it up so it looks cool. You don't sound very sick.
Yeah, I took a little nap.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
What, like a 10-second nap?
10-minute nap.
Mm.
And my fever went down.
Mm.
It did.
Mm.
I mean, I checked it.
Mm.
It sounds like a song.
Mm.
She checked it. She checked it.
Go, Ty. I'm doing streaming. All right, so next one that we're going to use is we're just going to use static grass to kind of get a base effect. So if you look at, this is any kind of static grass, and obviously I'm running out of it a little bit. And depending on how you want your grass to look, can change the way your model looks. So this one is, I believe, I don't think this is the burnt grass. I think this is just regular field grass. I also have some that looks like it's dead grass. I have other ones that look like it's snow. Like covered in like snow. So there's a lot you can do with the different types of grass. All we're going to do is we're going to put a good chunk of this on the model. And once again, I use this. And generally on a model, I like to put a small patch and then I like to put a big patch, usually somewhere on a model. So for him, I'm going to put a small patch kind of right there. And all you're going to do is you're just going to do this over the model or over this bin so it doesn't get everywhere. I'm just going to put a pinch of the grass there. Then you want to tap it off a little bit because it's not all going to stick to the glue. And I even blow a little bit off so we don't have any extra. And you can see on its base, now we have a small little patch of grass over here. Okay. And it's going to blend in a little bit, and that's fine because it's kind of like your undergrass. And then I'm going to do a bigger patch of grass over here. And this is the grass you can use to kind of hide mistakes on your base or maybe even on your model. Okay. Just tap that off. Give it a little blow. Okay. Now we got more grass there. So you see we got a bigger patch here now. And then we got the smaller patch on the other side too. Once again, it's really not gonna stick out because it's kind of darker grass and it kind of blends in with the brown. And since he has some on the front here, I'm actually gonna put a little patch here too. Just to give it some character when you look at it from the front on. All right. So we put a little grass right there by his foot as well. Just so that way, like I said, when you look on at him, we're going to have some character there and some brighter green here in a second too. I'm going to put a tiny bit of grass on his base. Just that way he has some as well. Because if you just have brown on the base, it just looks weird sometimes. You want to color it up. Okay, so we got a little grass on his base too now. So now we're done with this. That's all we're going to do with that static grass. Okay. Next, I'm going to have to get out a couple of things. So one, this is a seaweed grass that I actually got from Hobby Lobby. And then let me get my other grass out that I use for the bushes. I use this for a vine effect or undergrowth, and I use the other one for bushes. Okay, so that's going to be my kind of undergrowth vine kind of effect. And this is kind of my bush effect that I like to use when I'm doing this model. So I usually just grab a kind of a pinch of this stuff to use as my bushes. And then I have my undergrowth that I also grab a pinch off of. Sometimes more because I want to have different kind of looking twigs and stuff. All right, so we're going to do the bigger base first. So I like to do these as kind of like an undergrowth, and then I like to use this as a bush effect. And it helps if you have a toothpick for this because otherwise you will get this stuff on your fingers. Glue and this stuff. All right, so I want to put the undergrowth, I want to pick off a portion that's decently sized. So something like that to put on our base. So I'm going to put this right by and actually like right on top of our static grass. And I'm going to lay that down on top of it. Okay. Now I'm going to take one of these bushes, once again, put some glue on here. And then I'm going to grab one of them. And I'm actually going to set it on top of it. You want to push down on it because you want it to kind of stay there. And then I even sometimes put some more glue on top of that because it kind of falls down on top of what you're doing. I'm going to do that. So I got that there. I'm going to put some over here too. So once again, just kind of put that there. Let's get kind of a bigger branch here, bigger undergrowth. All right. Put some more glue on that. Let's put a bush like that there. Okay, come here, you. And honestly, a lot of this is just kind of playing around with the model to see what looks good. And then you just kind of put some more on there to help it set. And when you actually seal the model, it's going to help set this stuff there too. So you can see on the back side, the model's starting to look pretty diverse and interesting. You can even put a little more here if you want. Like a little bit more is coming out. Let's do a tiny bit like that. There we go. Okay. And then we will go, yeah, that's a good look at it. Then we're going to hit some on the front too, because like I said, that way you just got some effect there. That looks good. It's fine, I'm just working. And that's where that happens. Okay. And that kind of almost makes it look like he's stepping on it. Okay, so that's kind of his base. So we have the water effect on the front, and then we have the shrubs and the kind of undergrowth growing off the back. And you can add more. So if you wanted like a real kind of dense, condensed kind of forest look, you can add as much of that as you want. I like mine looking like it's scattered. He's kind of coming up to the coastline anyways. So we're kind of done with that, I feel. And then I'm just going to put a little bit on him because remember, he's the only follower that has static grass on his base. So we're just going to put a tiny amount of that right there. Okay. And let's put that there. And then let's just put, not on my finger. Sorry, you guys may not be able to see that. God. Because when it gets like this, it just sticks to everything. Okay. So I think we'll go with that. So he's got just a little undergrowth, little brush right there. And then of course all the water. Let those two dry for a second. And if I had more stuff, I'd just keep using this to build up the bases. But I'm actually quite happy where that's sitting. So we're just going to put this stuff back in. And once again, all this stuff, like this undergrowth terrain, is just terrain stuff. And I think this is only like $5.29 at Hobby Lobby. So really cheap, and I've had that for years.
Hobby Lobby is not a sponsor.
But they should be.
Yeah, they should.
Okay, same thing. This just came from Hobby Lobby. Model terrain or model terrain kits like that are really perfect for what we want to do as tabletop gamers. All right, so this is going to be fine. So a lot of people were asking also how I got this water effect to look like water. And all you do for that is there's actually a water kind of effect. Once again, it's for a train. And once again, just comes from Hobby Lobby. And it's just realistic water. It's just woodland scenic. And you can just get this from Hobby Lobby. This is going to cost you about 24 bucks. But once again, I've had this for years and I haven't ran out of it and it hasn't gone bad. Because I haven't done this water effect on models in a long time. So all you're going to do is you're going to have some kind of container like this. This is just a card container I used for Magic, but now it's just kind of my resin dump tank. And all you're going to do is you're going to dump just a little bit of that in there. And I really didn't put hardly any. And once again, you want to do a brush that you don't care about. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take bits of this on my brush and I'm just going to put it where the water effect is or what I want to look like a water effect. And this you can actually puddle into your water effects because it's going to settle right on top of your paint job. So a lot of times I'll put extras on top of it. And since you don't have a lip to hold this in though, you don't want to overdo it. But you can already see there's a shine to it. And we're just going to set him up here. We're going to do the same thing for these little guys. We just put this water effect on all the water and really layer it on there just because it'll give you a real good water effect. And this water is going to take 24 hours-ish to dry. So this is something where you want to kind of set and forget your models. Just put them somewhere, just let them dry. Yeah.
Remember, kids, don't drink it.
You know, I call that natural selection. Do you know what that is, Ty? Natural selection means that some people are going to die and that's just part of life. It's survival of the fittest. So if you are not smart enough to not drink random things, then you have been selected to be terminated by nature. So don't be dumb and don't drink things that aren't things that are supposed to be drank. What? It's not panties. I just believe that, you want to know what? If you want to do something stupid, that's on you. If you want to eat Tide Pods, hey, go ahead.
Hey, that was a trend.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And when you die of eating Tide Pods, that is nature saying that you just didn't have the brains to make it, kid.
I didn't eat Tide Pods.
I'm saying kids in general, not you, dork. Okay. All right, so
He calls me names.
call Ty names all the time.
Which are
Dorkfish, knucklehead. All right, so we'll get a look at the bases one more time. So we'll get our water bases kind of looked at here. Like I said, they're going to have to set, but I'll at least get them here so you guys can see them. Because the bases are pretty much done. They just need to be kind of dried. And this, like I said, this water effect takes a long time to dry off. Okay. So, and you can already see the water effect kind of starting to work, but as it kind of sets, it's just going to look really nice. So most of this is water because these are water elementals. And then we have our lizard champion with his rock that we made look like it's kind of coming out of the water. And then on his base and one of these, we have a really cool kind of forest scenic base that'll look really nice once he's painted up. Which to me, this looks really funny because the model's not done, but the base is. So it's just kind of funny looking to me because like, oh, that base looks really good, but that model is nowhere near done. Of course, I'm going to paint him up now, but yeah. That is how you kind of make a good forest scenic base. You could do this for the entire base, but if you're also looking for a cool water effect, that is another way to kind of get it, where it's just going to be simple, looks like water, and it'll kind of make your model look different and unique. So once it's painted, what we just did, I'm just going to put these aside, not grab them again, because we want you to see what your model is going to look like once you've done this on a painted model. So we got Sneaky Pete, who is done.
Looks way too good.
So we got Sneaky Pete in his banner. We got one of our guys there. So this is kind of, and all of his followers have kind of the woodland base as well. So you can see that the woodland bases look really nice with the water effect on there.
That looks way too good.
And the more variation in size that you include on your bases, the cooler the model looks. So Sneaky Pete coming with him on a rock makes this model look a lot cooler because it allowed me to make it look like the waves were kind of crashing in on this rock. Same thing with the banner, right? The banner looks like it's coming out of the water, so I made it where it looks like it's just popping out of the water and there's some kind of squid underneath. So yeah, a lot of really cool things that you can do with this kind of effect. And I've done really cool bases before where there's no water effect, but it's just this forest kind of scenery. Especially models where they have cloaks or something that really kind of cover the base. That's a lot of times where I'll use the effect of no water and just do the woodland base. So, hey, come on. So that's kind of my general how I base. Hopefully you guys found this helpful and can start using this to your own effect. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, share. This is one that I'm hoping the community can do because I see a lot of people that struggle with basing and they don't know how to do it and what they need. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. But this is one that I've just found it works on almost any model. Futuristic fantasy, it doesn't really change that. Yeah, so Josh just kind of came on and he said that he's always done his water effects last after using the spray to seal. So if I do notice that the matte takes away some of the shine of the water, then I will go back with the water effect on top of it. So that can happen, especially if you have a matte finish with your sealing. So you do got to be careful how much that actually takes away from your water effect. So when I seal, Josh, I actually seal generally the points of the model that are going to be touched the most. So I actually seal the bases and then I'll seal the models. So I don't seal every inch of it, but I seal the points that are most likely to be grabbed the most. So I kind of seal from the top down and make sure the rims around the bases get that sealant as well. I don't tape off the water effect because I found the sealing that I use doesn't affect the water look as much. Like I actually I straight up just sealed this and you can see the water effect still looks like water. If I felt like it took away from it, I could just add some more of the water effect on top of it. But like I said, it didn't cloud it up. It didn't make it look weird. So I seal over top of it. I really don't think it takes much away from the sealer. Or from the water effect. It usually stays looking pretty good, like it is in this state. And even some sealers kind of still give it a shiny effect. So it depends on which sealer you use and how much of a matte/gloss effect you have on it. Because these guys, I even put a little extra sealer on certain spots like the squid. That way the squid not only had the water effect, but it had a lot of the sealant on it, so it kept a real shiny effect. So I think you got to play around with it. And granted, I'm not going to be as picky as a lot of other people with how my models come out because I paint for tabletop quality. If you really are trying to be as technical as possible and really get the differences in texture and smoothness in your model, you might tape that off when you seal. That way it doesn't get that effect and you can keep the pure look of it. So yeah, usually I don't focus on the whole model. Like obviously you prime, you flip the model and you're getting every nook and cranny. But when I seal, I literally just put them in the box and I spray over top of them to make sure that the highest points where I'm going to be touching it the most definitely have a good coat of sealer on them. And then I seal close around the bases because once again, that's where most people are going to grab your model. And then there's going to be sealer on other parts of the model just naturally from spraying, but I don't focus in on every part of the model having 100% sealer on it just because it's fine to me like that. I just want to make sure that the points of that you're going to contact the most with your models are sealed. That way the paint doesn't wear down as easily. So just that's my thoughts on sealer just because a lot of times I like my model the way it looks without a sealer. So I try not to put too much on because I don't want it to change the look significantly. So I'm a little stingy with the sealer. I really just kind of hit it where I want it to really protect, and then if it gets the other parts of the model, it gets the other parts. But yeah, I'll finish up Wraith and his followers. I'll kind of paint those probably tomorrow. I'll probably hit it up on the stream and get him painted because Friday Chris and I are going to record. We're going to actually do one of the other scenarios besides life. We're going to do a battle report on it, and then we're going to record on what we think about that scenario. Because the scenarios I played one the other day that was different. I think it was death, and the scenarios really change up the way you play God tier. So really interested to kind of start messing around with the different scenarios and which champions are strong and which ones. I don't know if you saw Josh, but we got the old Mournblade. I'm going to paint him up like some Game of Thrones White Walkers. So we got this is going to be like some ice effect down here. And we're going to have a lot of snow on the base. My boy John Stokes does a cool kind of glass weapon, frost weapon kind of look that I'm going to try on him and his followers. So really excited. But once again, please make sure you guys like, subscribe, share. We're going to really start pushing this online content, really putting out a lot of material. We just invested in Adobe Creative Cloud. So these videos that we stream, we are actually going to take and we'll edit. We'll edit them down, clean them up a little bit. That way some of the awkward, long moments where you don't really need it, it'll shorten the video length so people can go back and watch it, not live, even though some people like watching it live. And yeah, start doing some more video battle reports, get some more cameras eventually. If you like kind of the content we put out, please help us out on Patreon. Direct support like that really goes a long way, especially when we start expanding, which we are starting to do, because this is something that Chris and I both are really enjoying, and we're really branching out to a lot of different games and contacting a lot of people in the industry and just really trying to make this thing a beast. So those of you that were hoping Rage Quit Wire would go away, I'm sorry. We're gonna keep moving forward, and we're in your face. We're just gonna keep being here, keep sharing games, keep having fun, and that's all it's about. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll go ahead and put some more content out tomorrow, same time, right around 2 and 3 o'clock, and then I might have a meeting close to 1, so it's gonna be somewhere around probably closer to 3. But yep, we'll stream again tomorrow. Trying to do it Monday through Friday, right in the afternoon, and then streaming randomly. Oh, sorry. Also tomorrow, make sure that if you guys have some free time at night, right around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, one of my artist friends that I have, We're going to do a paint party that I did like the other day with my friend from out in Kansas. We're going to go ahead and do that with my artist friend. And I believe he's in Kansas City now, but we're going to do a paint party. He's really skilled. He's actually the guy that designed our Rage Quit Wire logo. And he's a really great painter of miniatures. So I'm really excited to do a paint party with him and see what he's working with and see if we can get some cool techniques from him. And he's just fun to talk to, just nerd stuff. So we're gonna do another paint party tomorrow night. So with that being said, make sure that you guys roll some of them crazy God tier dice and throw some salt, and we'll see you guys next time.